The greatest American ripoff. The greatest American ripoff. Over 30 years ago, I started welding for offshore oil companies, and as many as 5 different ones wherein I would be flown out there by way and means of a helicopter, and sometimes boated out so to do maintenance welding work as was needed for Chevron, Otico, Gulf, Marathon, and Shell Oil Company. And I was on a Gulf oil platform. Now, this was about 30 years ago, where I had to weld 2-inch pipelines on one given shift. And I was told that they had to shut the whole platform down while I welded, and that they would be losing $60,000 an hour while it was all shut down. So there would be no going to sleep. The only thing I would be allowed to do was I'd be allowed to go to the restroom and to eat, maybe twice a day or so. But I had to keep working around the clock, no sleep, no going to bed, until the whole job was finished, because they were losing $60,000 an hour until I got those gas lines welded in. And that was the worth, apparently, of gas coming up out of the earth that many years ago, just from that one platform of theirs, among all the many others that they have there and all over the world. Remember the so-called fuel shortage. During the days of the first major fuel shortage, when people were lining up at the pumps in 1980 and breaking line at times and being shot for doing so, because the frustrating tensions were so high. All this hoax being caused by the oil companies lying to the people. Even back then, there was more than enough gas, more than what we could probably use for the next 80 years, under the sea, being pumped out all around the clock by major oil companies all over the world. So that fuel shortage was all a hoax. These wicked, wealthy billionaires, oil barons who use their wealth to try and control the world with and oppress the poor and needy, are some of the biggest criminals that the world has ever known or will ever know. And they steal from us daily at the pump, but yet no one is being prosecuted. Charles Manson is a saint to be paid homage to, compared to the cruel criminals that these wicked, wealthy billionaires are. 1. First of all, why are we paying for gas at all still, since there is hydrogen technology, wherein it's made from water, and we would have an endless supply? I do concede to the point that the infrastructure is not up and running to just make the transition overnight. And I am aware that Toyota has already made a complete hydrogen car that is not being marketed yet. But look at all these automobile companies that keep manufacturing gasoline vehicles, when they themselves know that the hydrogen conversion switch would save this nation trillions of dollars at the pumps. Do I see billionaires here offering kickbacks to the automobile companies, robbing them to keep manufacturing vehicles that will continue to need the fuel that they drill from the earth and overcharge us for at the pumps? With everything that hate can hate with, Americans ought to hate the oil and gas companies more than any other entity that is in existence today. Why love a thief? Do you like being stolen from? I mean, who likes to be stolen from and lied to on a daily basis? President Bush, to my knowledge, didn't do anything to suppress or freeze prices at the pump when he was in office. But why should he? Him and his father are in this very business. Why deplete profits coming from a business that you yourself are engaged in? Most of what I have just said on this short video, the American people are already aware of. But it still is worth repeating from time to time, just to keep it repeatedly ever before the minds and hearts of the American people, that the biggest thief in your life has never been the pillhead down the street who broke into your home and stole your clothes and electronic goods to go hawk and then go get a fix with the money. No, the biggest thief in your life are the oil companies that steal from you daily at the pumps and never get prosecuted for doing so. The most lowest life lethal liars on display today are the oil company executives that ever tell you that there is a fuel shortage, and so we will now have to charge you more for the car chemicals we sell you to help you get on up the road with. Now think upon this for a moment. When the BP oil spill took place, we all do indeed mourn for and offer our condolences to those who lost their life as part of this incident. Notice I said incident and not a tragedy. Is it a tragedy to see one of the big thieves, one of the biggest thieves on planet Earth, now have to fork over billions in profits that they have engaged themselves in stealing from the American people over the years? Do we mourn over seeing the oil barons squirm and lose wealth that was never theirs rightly to begin with, since they got it by way of means of deception? Do we mourn for the thieves of the earth that so far surpass what Bernie Madoff did? That what Bernie Madoff did is virtuous and venial compared to the vile villainy that these reprobate right covetousness fiends of covetous cruelty do to us on a daily basis at the gas pumps. What fuel shortage? What fuel shortage? None of the platforms offshore are being shut down. They are pumping that gas and oil daily by the second. What fuel shortage? They're not sending in their workers with unemployment slips. They are hiring more as you hear this message. They need the help to get all the gas and oil as quick as they can out of the bowels of the earth. What fuel shortage? Service stations across our land are not closing down because they cannot get gas delivered to their underground tanks. What fuel shortage? All companies are still giving their retiring CEOs millions in profit as they depart to their mansions of silence, sworn to secrecy to not divulge the deception of theft from the public over the years. What fuel shortage? You see, folks, your biggest enemies in life are not the hoods on the street who have fiendishly addicted themselves to the abuse of stimulant and opiate chemicals. Your biggest enemies in life are not the harlots who sell their bodies to put food in their mouths and in the mouths of their children. Your biggest enemies are not those that we see on crime and punishment aired programs, who once or twice in their life may fall into mischief, and as a result of such be hidden from the public for 40 years in a prison cell at the taxpayer's expense. Your biggest enemies in life are not those that become serial killers and kill 30 or 40 people, and then they are finally caught and killed in the gas chamber to finalize their evil. Your biggest enemies are members of our government who sit back and do nothing but only take payoffs from the oil companies to just stand back and watch and do nothing while they, the oil billionaires, are allowed to go unfettered daily, stealing from you at the pump. Oh, I know that sounds like an awful affront, but the truth is the truth. Do you know of any politicians right now that are doing what they can to put a stop to the high prices at the pumps? If a vibrant voice in the chambers of Congress arises to fight these thieving oil barons, they will be silenced very quickly, with probably under-the-table payoffs, and then be sent gifts of gratitude by way and means of anonymous deliveries to still the storm that has risen up against them. Look how horrid with hypocrisy our nation is. The tobacco industry is right up there with the oil industry, with all the medical evidence of the harm and hurt to our citizens that the nuisance, nasty, noxious narcotic of nicotine does to the human body. Yet our godless government sits back and does absolutely nothing to put these companies that peddle this poison out of business. Why not? Money under the table. There's a little argument that some people come back with, and they say, oh, but our government requires that it is advertised of the harm and hurt of tobacco on the packaging to all those who purchase such. My friend, to just try to put it in a nice way, that type of argument, if it were possible to make your rear end laugh, that is enough to do it. Because first of all, by even putting that on the package, that increases the guilt of our government for letting it be sold in the first place, since they know the harm it does, and actually they tell the companies that sell the American people this perilous poison to put it on there. Yeah, they know the harm that it does. But folks, once again, this is just one of the problems that America is being faced with, and that we as people that make up this nation are faced with. We're being stolen from daily through deception and fraud and deceit at the gas pumps, and it's only going to get worse. And the way I'd finalize this quick discourse is, once again, America's gone. My friend, just join me in hating the thieves that rip us off daily at the pumps, and join me more so in hating the ones who could legislatively put a stop to it but don't. Our government in Washington. They're not doing anything about it, it seems. Nothing to bring these prices down. And yes, pray. The Bible does say pray for our leaders. Pray for those that are in authority. Let's pray that God will get them out of there, if anything, and put somebody else in there to replace them that will do something about these thieving oil barons. Years ago, once again, over 30 years ago, I was out there. They shut one platform down, $60,000 an hour while they were shut down. So for me to weld those pipelines, and look, they were pumping fuel all around the clock, all those different oil companies. There was no shortage. And every time they tell us and lie to us that there's a shortage, they'll come up with some nitwit nonsense just to try to justify them in the eyes of the people to raise the price. Oh, my friend, I know the Bible does say, pray for those that are in authority. But let's pray, God willing, that they be put out of authority and some people be put in there that will do something for us, the American people, to get these prices down. Thank you for tuning in.